So, my last video on Flash games was focused entirely on one series, and Combat Instinct. I hadn't intended for it to be like that, admittedly. I had a whole 4 games to cover, but I feel like that one went on long enough to warrant its own thing, so here's the rest of those Flash games, starting with a fighting game classic, Bloody Rage. Another game that managed to make Newgrounds Portal history. Released to us on September 25th of 2002, Bloody Rage featured a roster of recognizable faces, many with slightly modified names to avoid copyright, I guess. Gotta be honest, man, I don't mind the MDicky name swaps, but I don't think DC and these other big companies even knew what the internet was until like 2010. Characters also all dual wield their weapons if they have them, so you have a Yoda with 2 lightsabers and Lara Croft with some supreme ballistics. Good god, look at those Mac 10s. As mentioned, this is a fighting game, so something that's absolutely in my wheelhouse. This one isn't particularly complicated since everybody has the same normals and special moves. Special moves which are all cannibalized from actual fighting games. You have Scorpion Spear, Ryu Sadoken, Shoryuken, and Tatsu, for instance. The game also includes Doctrine Dark's Explosive Special. Wish to god the sound clip had made it in, though.
Explosive.
So if you ever wanted to see Yoda or Wolverine do a Hyper Tatsumaki Senpukyaku, well, this is the game for you. Or watch them decapitate someone with an uppercut. This game has fatalities as well, of course. Simple little kills that happen at the end of the round. Not sure if they have a special input, gotta be honest. As for how this game plays, well, I can really only describe it as manic. There's no real strategy here with this game, just run in and start mashing at your opponent. Hell, all I did was spam uppercuts, and then when I had Super Mirror, mash my Super Tatsu out. Since it hits a bunch of times, it does a shit ton of damage in the process. Hey, got me through every character in the game with only a few losses, so it works at least. I think the real draw of this game, though, is that you can cobble together your own nightmarish abomination with the other pieces of every character in the game. You can also try to make something cool, or you could be like me and just make your character teeny so the enemy can't really even hit you. Let's head on over to the sequel now, since, I mean, why not? 3D fighting Bloody Rage dropped on March 21st of 2009, relegating the game's name to a subtitle only and switching over to being a fully 3D experience. Though, in-game, it's just Bloody Rage 2. Guess they wanted to flaunt the fact that it was 3D on Newgrounds. Considering this is a Flash game, that's actually incredibly impressive, can't even lie. Even though the stages are pretty bare and simplistic, like, what's the deal with this stage that's literally just a square of rainbow dots? This one also has a character creator, but now instead of just picking pre-made parts, you pick from pre-made parts, it can scribble and draw all over the character as you please. Otherwise, the game's pretty similar to its predecessor. Perhaps a little less manic, though. Moves are still taken from famous fighting games, you battle against facsimiles of characters, but this one is far more annoying since instead of sound clips jacked from various video games, you have one guy doing terrible impressions.
Wowzers! Stimulus package.
Come on, man, if you're gonna imitate Obama, at least try. There's also a very distinct lack of music and sounds as well, especially in the menus. Mid-combat, the game will also freeze frame on certain hits for a dramatic zoom-in effect.
Stimulus package.
I don't know why this happens, nor how it's relevant in any way. Think it's on counter hit, maybe? Fatalities are also totally absent this time out, the one-round bouts in this game ending with the defeated party violently vomiting. Seriously, that is a barfing noise. Honestly though, maybe I shouldn't be too hard on either of these titles, since both are described as betas for an eventually finished product. Products I can't seem to find, so, well, guess they never happened. Looking back though, man, these games were both absolute shit. How did I play the first one so much as a kid? Did I just not have anything better to do? They're both fun for a bit, I won't deny that, but the novelty wears off very quickly. You can only entertain yourself for so long with a game's wacky gameplay before it just becomes boring and a bit frustrating as well. Oh well, I guess every Flash game I return to won't be some magnificent gem. Let's play something totally brainless to take our minds off these two stinkers. The Skull Kid. An infamous little title, truth be told. Dropped to the Flash game Portal on September 14th of 2002. It actually kind of astounds me to say this game took home the daily 3rd place for September 15th and was later front-paged on June 3rd of 2013. Skull Kid is a very simple game in 3 parts. It has no story, so let's make one up real quick. The Skull Kid worked in an office where everybody made fun of him for having a stupid skull head and his big fat boss fired him for being an ugly Skull Kid. Skull Kid decides to work through his issues peacefully though, getting therapy and taking up painting anything to get his stress and anxiety out. When that doesn't work though, he decides to get revenge on his old office. Level 1 has you simply chainsawing through office furniture and some twig boy bureaucrats who are basically office furniture anyway. Level 2 sets up the challenge a bit by actually giving you one. The men on floor 2 saw you coming, so they raided the office armory and have set up defensive positions to wait for you. You pull out the Glock and engage in a simple cover shooter segment. Wait for them to shoot, then pop out of cover and start blasting. Or be like me and press your luck by seeing if you can outmatch the AI's shots. After you blast through the scarred veteran armed with a machine gun, you head to the final level, which is promised to be nice and gory. Oh yeah. Skull Kid confronts his big fat boss and slices him open with the chainsaw, ending his reign of terror and destroying the company, I assume. That's where the game ends. Hey, he included an email here. Let's drop the creator a line, shall we?
Eat 'em fried chicken at the mall. Eat 'em fried chicken when I ball.
Oh well. Let's move on to a personal favorite now, though. One that might not be on everybody's radar. The Great War of Prefectures. A game I didn't even play on Newgrounds, though it did drop there on April 27th of 2009. I think I played this game on like Cool Math Games or some weird website like that. This one's a pretty simple strategy game, set in Japan at some point in time. I personally headcanon it as the far-flung future after a nuclear war has devastated much of the world, with Japan being relatively unaffected, but sent into a semi-technological dark age due to a massive EMP pulse that destroyed all available electronics. The EMP pulse was also so strong it affected the electrical pulses of our brains, which have allowed certain humans to begin tapping into telekinetic abilities that are indistinguishable from magic. I made this all up for no reason. You pick a faction from the shit ton of prefectures available to you, all of them having a different starting bonus of some kind. Some have some extra income thanks to a gold mine, some have graveyards that spawn skeletons you can use in battle, and tons of other stuff that I just don't have the time to summarize. After you pick your starting faction, it's your goal to conquer all of Japan, building armies in your provinces to attack your foes, while all the other clans do the same. You also have a few kind of magic to help bolster your army's strength or cripple your foes' abilities, or just outright kill them. Basically, Great War is a giant arms race. Take as many territories as quickly as you can, unlock your better soldiers, and basically barrel through Japan using knights, snipers, and samurai who now use broadswords and big heavy kite shields for some reason. Honestly, this game is super easy once you get over the early game hump. Kinda reminds me of playing a Total War game where once you start snowballing, the AI is basically unable to stop you whatsoever. Near the end of the game, I was actually getting so bored, I was trying to put together an army of green giants only, which require a special building and like 6 turns to recruit. But after I conquered Japan, oh man, the game hit me with a curveball I'd entirely forgotten about. Out of the oceans rises a few new territories and a hostile invading force of rapidly reproducing germs with some pretty crazy abilities to boot. Oh no, it's 2023 and this is Corona! Honestly, it's actually pretty difficult to take down these bastards. When it came to the human armies, I was used to just throwing my armies at the opposing force and just letting them do the work while I occasionally throw a magic attack out there to help. Fighting these guys though, I actually had to be a bit smarter with how I approached them, being more methodical with how I advanced my troops, and being more precise with my magic usage. Though the final battle for the biggest island was won in a vicious campaign of attrition, also known as grinding them down by the sheer tide of bodies that I was sending their way because I could always make more soldiers. It was an appreciable spike in difficulty after an incredibly breezy campaign experience. Overall, it's a pretty fun little game, as simplistic as it is. After a personal favorite of mine though, let's do just one more, and knowing it's just one more, let's make it an all-time classic. An all-time Newgrounds classic. Pico's School. Actually made all the way back in 1999, and as game creator Tom Fulp said, made before I grew out of my edgy teen phase. Or did I? And well, edgy is definitely the best way to describe this game for certain. Really though, it's an OG of a game made in the wake of Columbine. Pico School takes place, where else? In a school. A grade school, to be specific. Things are rolling along normally as they always do, but the goth kid here, Cassandra is her name, begins to massacre everybody because her music didn't teach her about apples. Pico survives the initial slaughter, and much like any sensible 4th grader would do in a time like this, retrieves an assault rifle from the janitor's closet and proceeds to reap a bloody vengeance on Cassandra and all her bitch-ass friends. From there, you basically roam the school, blasting some scrubs and battling the bosses of the goth clique. Starting first here with the telekinetic menace, Alucard. Wait a minute, Alucard? Oh my god. That's Goblin spelled backwards! You just blast the corpses he throws at you, and then you blast him when his psychic shield is down. Oh, begging for mercy, huh? Sorry, but no mercy for goblins. There we go, first goth boss dead, and on to the next. Between fights you can engage in all sorts of fun activities like raiding dead people's possessions, flushing urinals, peeping on people taking a shit, and smoking the dank kush to restore your health. Next up is a ninja girl who fights you in the dark. Guess weaves didn't exist in 1999, so they just kinda morphed up with the goths. Providing a challenging battle for you to engage in, you have to track her blade slashes via the sparks which light up the darkness. You retrieve the night vision goggles from the ninja girl's corpse, get the key from your dead teacher, and then head into the basement for the final battle against Cassandra. She kills the remaining friends and mutates into whatever the fuck this thing is, and then you shoot her in her big throbbing alien dick until she dies. This story would later be retconned in a remake, where Pico instead makes friends with everybody instead. Which, Love Conquers All actually adds a lot of little details to the Pico canon, mainly backstories for the game's various villains. Cassandra being an alien and her true purpose of invading the Earth is added, Alucard being a victim of experimentation, and Harold being a guy. Honest to God, I always thought the ninja was a girl. Doesn't he know you're not supposed to be in the girls' bathroom if you're a guy? I mean, come on. Now both games exist, but in their own canon timeline, so whatever your preference is, use that one in your Flash game fantasy universe. Pico would later go on to become a Newgrounds icon, being the basis for their yearly Pico Day celebration, as well as constantly cameoing in various Newgrounds projects by all sorts of different creators. Anyway, that was another fun batch of Flash games. I realize my choices are probably a bit strange, but honestly, I just kind of pick whatever ones I'm feeling in the moment, and with how much time I joyfully spent playing them, that really runs the gamut of what kinds of Flash games those might be. Regardless, there will be more Flash game videos in the future, some being broken down, like my Combat Instinct Trilogy one, and some like this one, which will just be a random grab bag of games. As always though, friends, my name is HadesManticore, and this here channel be City State Manticore. Thanks a ton for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe if you want more content from me. And comment-wise, well, why don't you drop your favorite Flash game or Flash game series down there, so I don't just go looking for the stuff I like, obviously. I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.